Global Eyes. Thanks for staying with us. Our panel all lined up. Before we get started, let's introduce our guest. Yigal Marcus, the director of Republicans Overseas Israel. Marc Shulman, the editor-in-chief of History Central and an editor and columnist at Newsweek. And Erin, Elmore, political strategist and contributor at Turning Point USA. Thank you all so much for being with us. Our main topic today, the GOP 2024. Let's take a closer look.
Ex-Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio will spend the next 22 years in prison for orchestrating the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Even though Tarrio wasn't in D.C. that day, he's been convicted of a rarely used Civil War-era charge, seditious conspiracy, for trying to overthrow the government and keep then-President Donald Trump in office. The longest sentence yet for a January 6 defendant. It comes as the Justice Department prepares to put Trump himself on trial at the same courthouse for plotting to overturn the results of the 2020 election. So far, more than 1,100 people have been charged over the Capitol riots, and Trump has promised to pardon most of them if he gets back into the Oval Office. The question is, will he get the chance? Will harsh sentences to Trump supporters play into the Donald's hand by invigorating his base? And are Republicans correct in claiming the Justice Department has become politicized?
All right, so the question for this topic, are Republicans right in claiming that the Justice Department has become politicized? 30 seconds on the clock. Yigal, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. And it's not just Hunter Biden. It's not just these selective prosecutions. But when you look around America and you look around how crime has grown to sky-high levels, literally in major Democrat cities across the country, you have to wonder about Democrats' commitment to applying the law and prosecuting when people violate the law. It's pervasive all over the place. And that is all part of selective prosecution, and that's because it's been politicized.
All right, Erin, 30 seconds, same question.
Let's take it out of the realm of Democrats and Republicans right now. Let's just take it to parents. Our Department of Justice called parents who spoke up at school board meetings domestic terrorists. So this perseveres into every aspect of our life in America right now. We see Hunter Biden walking free, never really facing any repercussions for his action. But Donald Trump, of course, 4 different kinds of charges. Additionally, we see that these parents don't get a right to speak up, and all they're trying to do is stand up for their children.
All right, and Mark, are Republicans claiming the Justice Department has become politicized? Are they right?
No, they can't argue the facts. They claim that the prosecution is selective. No one's actually defended the actual actions of Donald Trump, not in any of the cases, because they can't defend his actions. So that's the answer. The Justice Department is politicized. Justice Department makes mistakes. I'm sure it does sometimes. Hunter Biden so far hasn't gotten off. The case is continuing, but that's not the main issue. The main issue is just a claim that everyone is against us, so it's politicized. That everyone selectively is against us Republicans, us right-wingers, whatever it might be. The Justice Department is not politicized. It's never been politicized, except maybe under Donald Trump.
All right, Erin, let's start with you. And gentlemen, remember, this is a debate forum, so feel free to chime in if you disagree. So the sentencing now, this is one of the most high-profile sentencings that's happened since the riots at the Capitol for January 6th. What kind of message is this sending to Trump and his supporters? 22 years behind bars for a charge that hasn't really been used since the era of the Civil War.
If you speak up and you're a Republican, you will be prosecuted. We do not see the same thing with BLM protesters or Antifa protesters, as almost every Democrat city across this nation has burned. This is unequal application of the law, and it tells you if you're a Republican and you want to stay out of jail, you better shut up and fall in line.
Nobody else stormed the Capitol and tried to stop the certification of an election. That's number one. Number two, I have to agree. I think the sentence is out of line.
You're right. They only burned down buildings and burned down cities all over the United States of America,
They didn't burn down cities. Stop with the nonsense. But I believe that next Democratic president should commute the sentence of all of these people to 3 or 4 years, because they don't deserve this many times. After Donald Trump is convicted, no one should serve longer than he should, because they all followed him. So I believe this is a little extreme, but they followed.
Rural area, because every large city across this nation had fires and destruction during these riots. I had to leave my home in Philadelphia because everything was burning. Police on the ground, helicopters above us, it burned. And that happened in Chicago, Boston, Portland, Los Angeles, and it's continuing to happen, and people are slapped on the wrist because they fit the political narrative.
Who's being slapped on the wrist and who's not being
and the unequal application of the law, allowing the border to remain open, allowing our drugs to flow in, rapists. There was a rapist, an illegal immigrant, who raped an American and got 18 months in prison.
Well, we're now calling a new political thing. Rapists, they're all rapists. The newest thing. Listen, there are criminals. Criminals should be prosecuted. Rapists should go to jail for 30 years. I don't know.
By this Department of Justice.
I don't know any details of this, so I can't argue the question of that he only got 18 months for being a rape.
I don't want to confuse you.
You're seeing that happen all over this great nation because of George Soros prosecutors.
Oh, well, now we got George Soros up. It's really wonderful. We brought up George Soros now as well. The bellwether, the person who's behind everything, pulling all the strings everywhere is George Soros. Come on, guys. It's not.
Mark,
listen,
I have a
there are
question
problems in the United States. They're not George Soros problems.
Is crime higher today than it was 2.5 years ago?
First of
yes
all,
or no?
First of all, no, it's not. The murder rate has gone down.
The answer is
it was
no.
lowest in the middle of COVID. It was lowest in the middle of COVID.
Erin,
but murder rate has gone down 10% in the last year.
It's just going to be confused.
The murder rate has gone down 10% in the last year. That's a fact. In the middle of COVID, it was low. Absolutely.
This is a statistic you'll try
Have you been to San Francisco and Los Angeles? Have you been to San Francisco where if you steal up to $1,000 worth of goods, there'll be zero prosecution? Have you walked down the streets of Los Angeles, down Beverly Hills, where major retailers have closed down because of smash and grab?
I'm not going to argue against those issues because I happen to agree with you on those. I agree with you on those issues, but it has nothing to do with the Justice Department being politicized. That may be
Erin,
local
governments
making certain decisions that may be wrong or right.
When local governments cannot protect the people, the federal government has got to step in.
All right,
and
guys,
they are
that's
not
the way.
Excuse me, Erin,
I believe the Republicans believe in local control. Since when does the Republican Party want the federal government to take over local control of various issues? Come on, that's against everything the Republican Party always stand for.
When people are dying, businesses are being destroyed, and the local government can't do anything, that's exactly where you want the federal government to step in. Because local governments, Democrat-run, are failing their jobs and are selectively
Gentlemen, we're getting a little bit off topic here.
Sorry.
I want to bring Erin in. I want to keep the focus here on the Republicans and 2024. Look, there are a lot of issues at the state level that do need to be addressed, but let's get back to the main issue at hand here, Donald Trump. Some Republicans are accusing the federal charges against him, 91 charges, both at the state and federal level in 4 different places, accusing it of being a hit job. But Democrats, some on the far left are saying that it's not enough. Some are saying that it's fair, and they do want to see him behind bars. So is this true? Is it a hit job? Is it a political ploy? Or are these charges warranted for what happened, for his efforts to overturn the election?
That's for the jury to decide.
I mean, if you're talking about the DC charges, basically you're saying he doesn't have the right to free speech, and political speech is one of the highest protections that are warranted under the First Amendment. He didn't do anything physical. He told everyone to peacefully protest that day. Of course, he questioned the outcome of the election, but you've seen the montage, I've seen the montage of every Democrat politician in the 21st century saying that Republican-won elections are rigged. We've seen that across the aisle, and do not say that that's unique to Donald Trump.
He did not only do that. He also had a scheme for fake electors. He pressured states to send the wrong electors to Congress. It's a whole series of things that he did to try to stay in office. And up to this day, he didn't do the minute. He didn't do the. Everybody who questioned an election ultimately said, "Okay, the other person won. We're going ahead." Look at
acknowledge that she's not the governor.
What?
Hillary Clinton still calls the 2016 election stolen and a product of Russian collusion.
She conceded the election. Excuse me, she conceded the election right away. Look what happened. So did everybody until Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the first president in American history not to concede an election, not to do not to come to the well, 2 other people didn't come to the inaugurals of their successors, but that was in the 19th century. But the reality is he's the first person not to concede, to continue living in his own land, his own la-la land, with his supporters. who have been somehow in this cult believe
And he
everything
has
he
a
says.
constitutional right to not concede.
Yes,
that's his right, Mark. That's
No,
his
it's not
right.
his right. Ultimately, that's not the way. That's
Yes,
not the way
it is his
elections
right.
work. When you lose, you concede in the
That's how
end.
freedom of speech works. I'm sorry, that's how
speech
freedom
is
of
fine.
speech works
So
under the
He speaks
Constitution
whatever he
of the United
wants,
States.
but you don't send fake electors. You don't send
What
fake
is the
electors.
crime?
What is the crime?
What is the crime
Trying to
of
send
not
fake.
conceding?
Trying to send. Not speaking is not the issue. It's very clear. It was very clear in the indictment that it was not about speech. Read the indictment. It has nothing to do with speech. It has to do with the things that he did with fake electors and pressuring local governments to overturn the elections. There's nothing to do with the speech. That is the reality. Read the indictment.
Pretty
Again,
soon-
I don't know if he's guilty.
pretty
Let the jury decide whether he's guilty. But the fact of the matter is, on the face of it, there's certainly enough to charge him, and then we'll see what happens. Not to mention all the other cases. I mean, for God's sakes, what he did with documents? How can anyone in any which way say that what he did with documents was even half right or even possibly right?
I mean, documents now,
Hillary
because Joe
Clinton.
Biden had documents behind his Corvette where his crackhead son was
Joe
living.
Biden
and he
had
didn't have
documents.
declassification
Joe Biden did not.
ability.
Did Joe
You do a lot
Biden
of
did not have
talking and not a lot of listening.
Joe Biden did not have super secret documents. Number one. Number two. Joe Biden, the minute it was
How
found,
do you
turned
know
it up.
that?
The minute it
wasn't
was
even
found,
president.
the minute it was found, it
You're
was turned
making
over.
that
But
up.
Trump refused
He
for a
had
year
no
to
chain
turn
of
over the
custody. His
documents.
dying-
He refused to
Okay,
turn them
you're-
over. There's no
first of
excuse
all,
for
what you're
that.
saying
This
is
whole thing.
completely inaccurate.
It is not right inaccurate. For a year, they asked him to return the documents. He didn't. This whole thing didn't have to happen. If he hadn't been such a narcissist, it
Give
wouldn't have
this-
happened. He could have just turned it over, and that would
Give
have been the
this
end of it.
give this DOJ more time, and Trump will be charged with the Kennedy assassination. Just give it a few more weeks.
Excuse me,
I
it
think
was
he has
Ted
a few
Cruz. It was
unpaid
Ted
parking
Cruz's
tickets as
father
well.
that he claimed was responsible for the Kennedy assassination. Let's not bring that in. It was he who claimed Ted Cruz's father did the Kennedy assassination. One of his other many hallucinations that keep on coming again and again and again. And all you people are willing to accept the
men that
hallucinations.
don't like Donald Trump fall into a few categories, and you fall into one of them. It's people can't stand that he is so powerful and has won over such a large demographic of the population. There's a shortcoming in the ego of those people, and I see that with you.
Okay, shortcoming in ego. I'm an historian. I go with facts. I hardly
there he
hear a
goes,
fact.
talking about how
I hardly hear a fact ever coming out of the mouth of Donald Trump over the whole time that from the time he started running for an election. Certainly in the last period of time, there are no facts. There are all sorts of statements that everyone knows they're not true, but you all go along with it.
Well,
what the heck? He said it. It must be true. It's like coming down from God.
Well,
He said
it will
it must be
that
true.
you can't erase as a historian as Donald Trump was president in 2016. As much as you would like to say that's not true, it is and it was, and it's likely going to happen again. So buckle up, Buttercup.
The world will be in deep shit, excuse the expression, if he gets
Yeah, right.
reelected.
It's going a lot worse now under this hack.
Yeah, okay. That's not the case.
Your
but that's
president
okay.
can't even find the door to the White House. He fell over.
Okay.
He checks his watch in front of honoring veterans.
I think Joe Biden is. I think both Joe Biden and Donald Trump are too old to run for president. I happen to believe that both of them should step aside, and so should Netanyahu here in this country. People are too old.
The bottom line here is that we have unequal application of the law. We have unequal application and enforcement of the law. We have Hunter Biden. We have a special prosecutor who, against the rules of the DOJ, was appointed special prosecutor. There is a perception, there is a significant perception of a DOJ that's biased. And this administration has done nothing to quell that, and they've done everything to exacerbate that.
The perception was created by Fox.
All right,
The
guys,
perception is
Yigal,
mostly
Mark,
created by
Erin,
Fox
we've
News.
got to take
and
a
all
quick
of you
break
people
here.
from the
We've got to
station.
take a quick break. We'll be right back with a lot more of this debate right after this. Thanks for staying with us. Our panelists still with us, Yigal Marc Shulman and Erin Elmore. Still with our main topic, 2024 U.S. politics and the GOP. But before we get started again, let's take a listen now to some sound from U.S. President Joe Biden.
When the last guy was here, you were shipping jobs to China. Now we're bringing jobs home from China. When the last guy was here, your pensions were at risk. We helped save millions of pensions with your help. When the last guy was here, he looked at the world from Park Avenue. I look at it from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I look at it from Claymont, Delaware. Not a joke.
All right, guys, same deal. 30 seconds at first for each of you without Butting heads are chiming in. Yigal, I'll start with you. Our question here, Joe Biden already campaigning against the former president. Is the 2024 matchup between Donald Trump and Joe Biden inevitable at this point?
I don't think so. I think that it depends on the number of candidates who will be actually in the primaries come this fall and winter. If we clear the road and we allow one or two other candidates to compete against him, I do think to see a consolidation of those Republicans who do not want to see Trump renominated and reelected. If we have a large, 5, 10 candidates, I think it's going to be very hard. I think Trump will run away with it.
All right, Mark, same question, 30 seconds.
I think it's most likely than not. However, I think there is a chance that Trump could be stopped at some point. At some point, there may be enough people who have sanity in the Republican Party and see all the indictments, and as the trials begin to progress, realize this is a mistake to nominate someone like that. I also think there's a chance in the last minute Biden might step down and be replaced by someone else. However, he may or may not have been a good president, but the fact is he is old and things can happen, especially at this age, and you can make decisions to change direction. So I think if I was a betting man, 60%, it's going to be that backup, but it might change.
All right, Erin, 2024 Biden-Trump rematch, what do you think?
Highly likely, but let me say this. When the last guy was here, we had $2 gas. When the last guy was here, we had a safer border. When the last guy was here, we didn't have empty shelves at the grocery store. When the last guy was here, we had the lowest unemployment rate amongst women and minorities. We want that last guy back. I think it's a likely matchup between him and Biden, who will campaign once again from the basement. And I have 8 seconds to spare.
Thanks, Erin. Well, Mark,
Erin, I'm not even sure he knows who the last guy was. I think he probably forgot.
All right, let's start here.
I'm
Mark,
agree with you on that one.
Yes.
Mark,
He's a
the Supreme Court is likely soon to determine whether Donald Trump's actually eligible to run under Article 3 of the 14th Amendment. That, according to federal judge Michael Ludig, and some actually say that he should be barred from running from office. Should that be the case?
Okay, I think legally he should be, but I don't think it's a good idea politically. That would just drive the country completely crazy. I think it would be a mistake to use it. I think it's warranted from a legal standpoint, but I wouldn't use it. If I'm someone who has to make that decision, I would not use it because I think it would just deepen the divides in the country even deeper. Let the voters decide whether he should become reelected or not. Of course, if he's actually convicted in Georgia or something before he's elected, that really presents before he even runs, that presents a real problem, obviously, because you can't be president from jail. But that's a whole other story.
Erin, your thoughts?
I think Donald Trump would certainly still try to be president if convicted, but hopefully the Georgia case, all it's going to take is one juror. But he wasn't even charged with the crimes that are necessary to say he can't run. So there's the problem right there. But this will create the illusion, whether perceived or otherwise, that you prosecute your political enemies because you're afraid of them. And that is not good for our country in any way, shape, or form. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, you want to have a free and fair election, and you don't take out your political enemies with lawsuits or jail time. If they win fair and square, and that's the way a constitutional republic / democracy works.
Of course, again, and in most places, in most American history, someone who had been charged with crimes would not run again. Someone who was bankrupt would never have run from the beginning. But okay, we give lots of passes to Donald Trump. We've never given to any other politician. We've given him passes that no other politician has ever gotten in American history.
A lot of people declare bankruptcy. No president of
the United States has ever declared bankruptcy before he became president, and certainly not 3 times. Let's be honest. The founders thought the idea of bankruptcy was.
And what about plagiarism?
Listen.
Yeah, what about plagiarism with Joe Biden? What about lying?
Listen, during previous presidential runs, this president committed plagiarism, and he's perfectly okay with that. So I guess
plagiarism is not the same thing. But again, I guess we're giving too many passes. We're giving passes. We're giving passes on age. We're giving passes on lots of things. But I'm just going from the very beginning. I mean, listen. My point is that giving passes on things in the history of America, no one would ever have given a pass on. He's been convicted civilly of rape, for God's sakes. No one seems to care about that. That's the reality.
That's not exactly true. That is not true at all.
It's
That's
effectively,
slanderous.
civilly, not criminally. Civilly, the fact was
So
the facts were
rape
established.
charge?
The facts were established in the case.
Exactly. I'm an attorney. There's no such thing. It's like Santa Claus.
It's not like Santa Claus. In the civil case, it was proven the fact that he had in fact raped her, and the reality was the case was about slander, so he wasn't convicted of rape.
Okay,
but
so
things
then
like
now you're gonna have to back that up.
but things like that would never have stood in American politics. Really, come on, look at history. When would someone like that not have, stepped aside long ago? I mean, come on. On all these factors.
We also had a president who had a lot of fun with the cigar under his desk at the Oval Office, and that's never happened either. But I'm sure you think that's okay too.
We've had lots of presidents who did terrible things over the years, but never have we had someone we found out in advance.
Never like Donald Trump, because he's different.
No, we've never ever found out in advance that he did these things, and people are saying, "Okay, let's go ahead anyway," because he did all these things. I mean, go all the way back to the Hollywood tapes. Again, any other candidate, this goes all the way back, would have been dead at the moment. Would have been pulled
because
out,
no
but he
one
didn't.
cares. They knew he was the most equipped to run the country. Literally, I don't care if he wants to grab someone by their cat or if he has declared bankruptcy, because I knew he wasn't part of the broken system in Washington. I knew that he was a political outsider who would be capable of caring for the American people in a way that none of these politicians have exhibited in the last century. I knew that he was going to be the
Erin,
person who came into Washington.
as everybody knows, I'm not a Trump apologist, but I will tell you, Mark, that when the American people elect somebody with that history, it just shows you how desperate they are for a better future, for somebody who will come into office and get the job done and not sit in the swamp that has made and has enriched our leaders for way too long. That's how desperate they are. They did elect him despite all of that. And that should make you very nervous.
That's a very sad statement.
A better future,
and the statement you just
better and more effective leadership. And Biden is not the solution here.
I'm not talking about Biden right now, and the statement you just made, Erin, about you don't care who he touches and who he grabs and everything else like that.
I don't.
Do you really want that of a president? A president is supposed to be someone who people look up to. Is that the sort of president we want to teach our children about?
I don't care what he has said. I don't care about any of that. I care that he's the most capable person for the job, and his personal life plays absolutely no role in that.
It's not only personal. He takes his personal life into the public sphere. That's number one. Number two, again, president is someone we're supposed to look up to. I mean, some presidents have been scoundrels over the years, but really? You think it's not a problem?
Do we look up to Joe Biden? Do you personally look up to Joe Biden right now? And if you say yes, I'm going to judge you harshly.
No, I don't look up to Joe Biden right now. I think he's too old, frankly. But that's not the point. But I don't look down on him in the way I look down on someone who grabs people in the way that Donald Trump says, and you're willing to say that's fine. I mean, come on. To say that's fine.
No one cares what happened. Nobody cares. Literally, the only people care are angry Democrats that want to find a reason to hate him because their egos are damaged and flawed.
No, it's nothing to do with egos. Come on, it's sad. It's sad. It's sad that you could say that this is all okay. That he's such a great leader, a messianic leader. I mean,
people pick him up and think that's okay.
The messianic leader. You talked later about strong. Be strong. I mean, come on, Mussolini was strong. I mean, really, come on.
$80,000 a month from Burisma. It's sad that you have a crackhead son who impregnated a stripper. You won't let the baby use the last name, and you won't acknowledge her. It's sad that you have a president with a crackhead son who slept with his dead brother's wife and his dead brother's wife's sister. That's what's sad. If we're going to start talking about people's personal lives.
All right, guys, we've got to end the debate here. Unfortunately, Yigal Marcus, Marc Shulman, and Erin Elmore, this has been quite the discussion on important topics of 2024. Thank you all so much for being with us.
Hey, I see you liked it. Want more? Just hit the subscribe button right here. Go on. I know you want to.